Hello everyone. In this session, we're going to be discussing service accounts, managed service accounts. But before we get to managed service accounts, we need to actually understand what a service account is and what purpose it serves within our organization. The service account, traditionally in the Windows environment, has been an account that we use to run services and provide authentication for applications, system services, and background services. But we had some challenges with the service account. Because the user account was used as a service account, if, for example, we had a policy within our domain that the password expired in 32 days, at the end of the 32 days, the password would expire, and if that user account was tied to a service or tied to an application, then we would have a problem with that application. It would cease to run. If the user account got corrupted, or if they had any other problem with the user account, the administrator would have to manually go and fix that user account because the program will not run if the user account was not operating. And that created a lot of administrative effort. So then Microsoft came up then with the managed service account. And the managed service account operated a little differently from the service account where we use the username to run the service. The managed service account operated much like a computer account where you did not need to manually administer the password. So this eliminated the need for the administrator to actually manually man the account credentials. You then had automatic password management. With the service account, you also had simplified server principal name management, where the server principal name was managed automatically. A server principal name uniquely identifies an instance of a service and ties it to the service account, the logon account. Another problem that we had with the managed service account is that that account can only be installed on one computer. Now, in Server 2012, we now have what we call the Group Managed Service Account. And the Group Managed Service Account allows us to use a service account on several computers. So this is an improvement. What we want to concentrate on in this session is the Group Managed Service Account. On a Windows 2012 domain controller, a key distribution services root key must be created for a domain before any managed service account can be created. So that is your first task. You have to create the root key. Now, we're looking at configuring the managed service account using Windows PowerShell. And to create the root key, we have to run this command and add KDS root key, effective time, get date, add hours. So that's the first thing that you need to do when you want to create a group managed service account. You have to create that root key. After you've run that command line and created that root key, You can then go ahead and run the commandlet that would allow you to create the managed service account within Active Directory. And that commandlet is new AD service account, the name parameter, whatever name you want to give to that account. You put in the DNS home name and the DC DNS name. Once you have done that, then you want to associate the managed service account with the computer account. And to run that commandlet, you would type add AD computer service account, the identity, and the host computer name, and the name of the service account. The last step that we would take is to install the Active Directory account on the host computer in the domain. And this will make the account available for use by services on the host computer. And that command is install AD service account, the identity parameter, and the name that you had given to the managed service account. After we've created the root, we then want to create the group manage account. So we go into Tools, Active Directory Modules for Windows PowerShell, and we type the PowerShell command that would allow us to create the group managed account, new AD service account, the name parameter, and now we type the name that we want to use for the managed service account. The DNS host parameter, and then we have to type the DNS host that we're using, which would be the name dot the domain. Next, we have to type principals allowed to retrieve in our case for the principals allowed to retrieve managed password, we're going to put our domain controllers for our example. And that's it. We close the module. Now we need to go and we need to look for that managed password. And we're going to go into Active Directory Administrative Center. We're going to click the tree view. And we're going to scroll down and we're going to look for managed service accounts. In the right hand pane, we can see the managed service account that we created. What we need to do next is to, using PowerShell, connect that account to the service, or we can just go ahead and do it manually. Let us just look at an example. Let's say we wanted to configure a service using the account. going to the services. So we're going to pick out the DHCP client service. You right click on the service and click on properties. You'd have to click on the log on tab for the application or service. And where it says here, this account, for this example, this is running on a local system account. So if you were going to take the managed service account that you created and tie it to a service, you'd actually have to browse for the account or type the name of the account here, and you would take the password out, because remember, for the group managed service account, we don't need a password. So remember, you come to the properties of the service if you are doing it through the interface. You go to the log on tab and you associate the service with the managed service account. Or we can do it using PowerShell, as we saw in the examples that we used. In order to use a managed service account, the server that runs the service or application must be running Windows Server 2008 R2 or Windows Server 2012 if we want to run a group managed service account. We also need to make sure that Net Framework 3.5 X and also the Active Directory module for Windows PowerShell are both installed on the server. So remember the shortcomings. The service account, when we use the user account, we had problems with password management. When we use the managed account, those problems were eliminated because now the password management and the server principal name management were automatic. But we had a problem, and the problem was that if you created the managed service account, then that managed service account could only be used on one client computer or one computer. With the group managed account, however, we were able to create an account and use that managed account on several services on different computers. This is the end of our session on managed service account, and I want to thank you for listening.